All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to be doing something new today. We're trying to finish up on our blocks and holes, and then you'll note that I've added the spiders back, or all the other monsters back in the room. They're working now. So the up-down monster's there, and now the spider's there. It looks like it's working. I've slowed down the speed a little bit. 8 seems a little bit too fast for me to control the player, and I think 4 is a pretty good speed, so we're going to go with that. We also need to talk about perhaps today a directional player. Right now our player is just facing forward and not doing much anything yet, and we'd like it to be more like the spider where the player would turn in the direction it's traveling. So we're going to take a look to see if we can get that working today. But we do have the boulders working. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I changed my speed. Yeah, so I better talk about that. It's interesting how that works. What we don't want is the boulders to end up misaligned. And I think, yeah, we'll still keep them aligned. So you might, you could leave it that way, I suppose. But I'd rather move the boulders one square at a time just to make sure. So let's look at what I changed. First of all, I think what we had in a previous video is we had a controller, and in the controller we have a create event. In the create event we have this execute code which creates 2 macros. Now, I think the original speed was 8, and I changed it to 4. But when you do that, you have to change one other thing in another place, and it has to do with the boulders, or the blocks, I guess. And so we go to the block, and we see that we have the number 4 here. What we're trying to do is get the block to move 32 pixels at a time. So if we're going to a speed of 4, then we take 4 times the speed of the Explorer, which is 4, then we'll only get 8, and we want to get, or we get 16 now, we want to get 32, so we need to increase this number to 8. So whatever your speed is, you want the speed of the Explorer is, you want this number, when you multiply it with that Explorer speed, to end up to be 32. And then you got to do the same thing here, so you don't want to forget to do that. Now, we could probably write a fancy equation to do this automatically for us, but my brain's tired, so I'm just going to hard code it because I'm lazy, at least today. So we got it. Hopefully we'll have the boulders working. We'll assume they are. We'll check it up in a second. But one thing we didn't finish last time was to get the block and the hole to interact. So what the behavior is when we push the block into the hole, we want both the block and the hole to disappear, and then that opens the way for the player to just walk over where the hole was. But we have to create a collision event then between the boulder or the block and the hole. So let's look at that. We'll add that event here. Collision event. Where is it? Here it is. Collision with the hole. What do we want to happen? Well, we want them to destroy each other, right? So we just do 2 destroy things. Destroy self, certainly, and then destroy the other thing that you crashed into. In this case, other is the hole, let's say. But I don't think this is going to work. Maybe I'm just being pessimistic. I don't know, but it seems like this is not going to work out. Let's check. All right, so here, I got to go pick up that diamond, so let me do that first. Okay, so now the door is open. I want to check to see if this block is going to, when it collides with the hole, they both disappear, and they don't. See, I'm pushing it, but it's not letting me move, and therefore not letting me collide, right? So that's bad. So how do we get that to work? Well, I think in past years, what did I do? I had to put some special code there, I think. When I'm pushing, yeah. So I'm gonna take a look at a previous year's or previous term's game. So this is a different game. I think this one. I want to see what I did with that. I want to see what I did with that hole. So let's say we'll go to the block. Here we are, object block. There's a collision with the Explorer, but there's no collision with the hole. So maybe it's on the hole. It's not on the hole side, not on the block side. So that would mean that yeah, it's not working in this one either. This is interesting. This looks like my other game that I'm so confused on which games we're looking at. Okay, so we'll do this one. Get all these weird errors. Okay, so somehow we have to let the block and the hole collide, but we can't. Why isn't it not working? Because when we push this thing with the Explorer, we check to see if there's anything in the way. And again, the other thing we're checking for, and hopefully we did this the other day, I think we did, what we're checking for is if there's anything in the way, even if it's not solid or whatever. But we're trying to see if there's anything in the way. If there's anything in the way, then there's not anything in the way, then we allow it to move, but if not. But we might want to check check specifically for a specific object. And if in that case, we'll just exit, I guess. Okay, so how to do this? Let's see. Maybe we'll have to do this first. We'll have to ask a specific question, then a more general question. So here, we'll do another if object at place thing here. And that's, I think that's, oh, wow. Yeah, it's this one. We want to do this one. We're looking for a specific object at place, not just any object. And if that's the case, we'll ask that question first, because we want that to happen first. And here we're going to check specifically for the hole. Okay, so where would the hole be? Again, we have to use that same equation, 8 times other dot h speed for the horizontal speed of the player. Make that relative, yes. And then here we say 8 times other dot v speed. So, and make that relative. And if there is a hole there, I guess, so we don't say not, we don't do any of this stuff, then we're going to allow it to move forward. So we're going to do the same jump to point. We say jump to point, just like we do below, but do it on the right side here. And what's our point? Okay, that equation again. I get tired of typing this equation, and so I'm going to just copy it. Copy this, and we'll put it here, relative, and then this one. And we'll put that relative too. So what we're doing is we're looking to see if there's a hole there. If there's a hole there, then yeah, they can move, and they'll collide, and then they'll destroy each other. Otherwise, check for anything after that point. And if there's not anything there, then go ahead and move. So let's see if that solves our problems with the blocks and holes. Is it running? I hope so. Yeah, there it goes. It's kind of slow today. Why is it taking so long? Hello? All right, so we'll go clear our block here. Scooch it down, and then my hope is that it'll see the hole, and then, ooh, you see that? Jumped right over the hole. And the hole did not move. Why did it do that? I don't know. Let's look. I said 8, checking 8 times other dot v speed. So here we saw the hole. Our speed is 4 for the Explorer, so that should have been the next square. And then we say jump to point. That should have collided. So what that's telling me is, a couple of things. We have to check our hole sprite to make sure that our hole sprite is full image for the collision mask. And it is. Okay. We'll check our block just for fun too, just to make sure that's full image, and it is. Yeah, so I'm a little bit puzzled there. Why did it jump over the hole? It shouldn't have jumped that far. Yeah, so maybe I'm thinking then in that collision event between the block and the hole, that if we do see that it's a hole, we should probably bail at that point and not do the rest of this. because it jumped twice on us. That's what happened. So what we have to do is we have to say else here. Okay, because if we do this, we don't want to do that. So to make it kind of exclusive, what we'll do is take this else and put it on the right side of this thing. Can we put it on the right side of that thing? Or on the bottom of this thing, yeah, on the bottom. And see how it makes an else. And then drag this to the right of else. You might have to click and drag it twice, but you want it like that. So if this is true, do this. Otherwise, check to see if there's anything in the way, and then jump. Otherwise, we're going to end up jumping twice. Right? It'll jump because there's a hole there, and then it will jump again because there's anything there, and then it jumps twice. So maybe that fixes it. Let's see. I'm optimistic. Okay, so here we are again. We'll get that a little easier to control because it's a little bit slower. And my hope is when I push this next time, both the boulder and the hole will go away. And they do. And I can get to the exit, which I don't have. I forget I need to make that too. Okay. Another thing I need to do in this game is, see, I'm not being hurt by the ghosts yet. I did that in an earlier video, but then I lost that code, so I got to put that in. So I'm going to take a pause here and put those in, and then we'll do the next step. All right, I went through the game and put in all the things that were missing, I think. A couple things I noticed that we probably want to double check. One of the things is how you exit a room. So I put the exit in there, and there's basically two conditions. When you run out of lives, you want to tell the user they've lost, and then you want to restart the game. When you get to the last room and you get to the exit in the last room, that should be the winning condition. So right now I only have one room, so I should win if I get to the end of this room. So so what I've done is I put the exit in. I've recreated the exit object and put it in the room. And what I want to happen, if you're on the last room, then I want to make sure that when you touch the exit sign, it tells you won, and then it restarts the room. So how did I make it do that? I just want to make sure everybody has that correct. So we'll go to the Explorer object and look at that collision between the exit. This might be a little different than what you have, so double check this. First, check to see if your room is the last room. If it's not, then go to the next room, because you're not on the last room yet. Otherwise, well, if there is no next room, that means you're on the last room and you got to the exit, so you must have won. So you can tell them they won, and then you restart the game. The other condition, though, is if, say, you collide with a monster, right? And what we said here is we subtract 1 from lives, and then we check to see if lives is less than or equal to 1. And if that's the case, we tell them they lost, and then we restart the game. So those are the two ending conditions for the game. So just make sure you have yours that way. So I'm noticing on the collision with the monster, I'm losing all my lives instead of just 1. Remember, we made that monster parent class for all the different types of monsters, so we only have to do 1 collision here. What I forgot to do is delete the monster. If you don't do that, or delete the other thing that you crash into, if you don't do that, then it keeps colliding and then takes all your lives away. So let's go try that. I'm also drawing the lives now too. I noticed that was missing, so I'll put that back. But let's see. My hope is that when the ghost hits me, I don't lose all my lives like I was doing a second ago. Okay, so I get hit by the monster. I have 3 lives. Restarts the room. Oh, look at that. I've got 3 lives again. Yeah, so my mistake then is I don't want to restart the game. I want to restart the room. So I lose a life. Let me think about this. I lose a life, and then let me think about this for a sec. Yeah, so a couple things to double check. The problem was I was setting lives, but again, the lives are being stored on the controller, and so I got to remember to go in here and change that to controller. Same thing here when I check the lives. I also need to check the lives on the controller, not on the player, because we're drawing the lives based on the controller, and that's where we're keeping track of the lives in the controller. Remember, the controller's persistent, and it needs to be there. But we also, here, when we get here, we don't want to just keep playing. We want actually to restart the room. So once we lose a life, when we realize we didn't lose, well, we need to put an else in there to say, and again, you probably already have this, but let's just make sure. It says else, and you want to make sure that it says restart room, not restart game, but restart room. Restart room is here. Put it to the right of that, and then it will restart the room. When did you lose a life? Let's test that just to make sure it works. You probably already had it working, but mine wasn't. So I'm having to redo some of the work because I lost some of my work. I always hate that when that happens. You do all this work and then you have to forget to save it or something, and then you lose all your work. You got to go back to the previous version. Okay, so here I am. I lose a life. I see my life went down by 1. It went down by 1 again. Oop. See, it says you lost. That was too soon. I still had another life, so I better check. All right, my recording cut out for some reason, so just picking up where it left off. But I've made some more changes. I thought I was recording them, but not, evidently. So I just want to finish up. So here we have, we were trying to say losing life, and here you have to say less than or equal to 0. So if you had 1 there, you want to say less than or equal to 0, and then when you play the game, you'll note that the game will tell you you've lost, and then it should just restart the game. So let's see if that's the case. Trying it now. It's taking its time. All right, so here's one. Oh, we got that fixed. Okay, so here's that one. And then here again. And then we lose one more time. And then you see that we lost. So that does work. One other thing, not sure if it made it into the video, so I'm going to record it again. I'll just tell you what the change is. What we wanted to do is to, we had the ghost, and the ghost is going through the boulder, and I've made changes so it doesn't go through the boulder and turns around. One thing I did try was to turn the boulders into walls, but that didn't work out so well. It made it impossible for me to push the boulder around, and we spent all that time trying to push the boulder around, and we couldn't do it. So how do we get the monsters to turn around when they hit boulders? I know mine's doing that now, but maybe that was in the part of the video that wasn't being recorded. So let's go look at those changes really quickly. So we go to here. We want to say the monsters. We'll have to do each of the monsters individually because they do different things when they hit the boulder. So what I did was, like, say, for the ghost object, I just said, well, at first I tried to make the boulder a wall so it would just turn around, but then I couldn't push the boulders anymore. So what I did was I just duplicated whatever I was doing for walls. When the ghost hits a wall, it turns around horizontally. So we just do the same thing when we hit a boulder. If the ghost hits a boulder, we turn around and do the same thing. Same thing for the skeleton object. If you hit the wall, you reverse your vertical direction. That's the skeleton. But if you hit a boulder, do the same thing. The tricky one, though, was the spider, right? The spider. Because the spider had this huge bunch of stuff that you did. You turn left, and if you can go left, you go left, and then you turn around. If you can't go left, then you turn around, and then if you can't go that way, then you go back the way you came. So we had all that. But we need to do that twice, right? We need to do that in 2 places. Once when we hit the wall, but also when we hit the block. So we want those to be the same. So what I did was I made a script. Now, we haven't done, I think, much with scripts yet. And GameMaker has really kind of changed the way they handle scripts. But in the drag and drop, it's a little bit more straightforward. So what I did was I copied all the code that was here, and I put it into this script. Now I can't find a way to rename the script, so we're just going to call it script 0. But this is where all that code ended up. Like say, so again, the logic here is if the spider hits either the wall, I guess, or the boulder now, you want to turn to the left, and then if there's nothing there, then you just exit and keep going left. Keep going that new direction. But if there is something there, then you turn around and see if you can go that way. And if you can, you just keep going that way. But if you can't, then you turn right and you go back the way you came. So that's basically the logic of the spider. But we have to now do it in 2 spots. We needed to do it for the boulder and the wall. So I put it all in this script 0 thing. And then once I have the script, I can go back to the spider now and look at that collision. All right, I lost my mic, so this video is not working out. So here what I'm doing is I'm saying, so for the block, it calls the script that we just made, or that you make, and then you want to do the same thing with the boulder. And so you have one script that's being called from 2 places. So if there's a problem with the script, you only have to fix it in one place. You don't have to fix it in 2 places. Generally, when you're doing computer programming, you don't want to put same code, the identical code in 2 spots. It would be better to make a script out of it and then call it from those 2 different spots. And that's generally what you do in programming if you're a quality or a high quality programming programmer. So that's what scripts are all about. So we haven't done much with scripts yet. And GameMaker has changed how the way they do scripts a little bit, but here in the drag and drop version, it's not as bad as it used to, or it's not as bad as you think. But as soon as you go into GML, scripts have changed considerably, so we'll have to look into that. I did try to rename the script, but I couldn't figure out a way to rename it, so I'm not sure why that is a problem. So we're just going to leave the name at script 0. All right. So what's next? Let's run it. And what I want to make sure is that the monsters turn when they see a block in the way. So we'll wait. For some reason, my machine is running really slow. So we'll see if we can get that running. All right. So you see that the ghost is certainly turning around. I'm curious to see. Maybe we need to test. Certainly, we need to test the spider, because that's the one that's most complicated. And then we also need to test the skeleton as well. All right, so here's where I'm testing to see if the spider turns, and it does. Hey, look at that. And then also I need to test the skeleton. But notice how the block is seeing that there's a detonator there, and not letting you go right over the detonator, and that's the desired behavior. And we push this in front of the skeleton. You see the skeleton turns when he sees it. So now we've tested all 3 types of monsters. And now I'm going to squish the skeleton into the corner of the between the block and the wall. And you see that it's a little bit glitchy. The skeleton looks kind of funny, but it doesn't crash, or I don't get stuck. I don't get out of alignment, and I don't merge with the block. So I was afraid that wasn't going to work, because that's been problematic in the past. Seems to be okay. I think we'll leave it this way, even though it looks kind of funny, glitchy for the skeleton. I'm not going to worry about that, at least for this game. Hopefully it works the same way with the ghost as well. The spider is hard to trap, because unless you get it trapped in a hallway or something. But yeah, we can now use our boulders then as a way to shield ourselves from the monsters. So you can use that in your level design when you're trying to design puzzles and things. All right, so what's next? Let's see. Oh yeah, we had this problem with the explosions, right? Explosions, some of us, our explosions would disappear because we'd hit the detonator and we just never see the explosion. And the problem was right here, where we're destroying the square right where the explosion is. We destroy that, and ended up the explosion was destroying itself. So So what I finally figured out, and this is what I was thinking yesterday, was the bomb collision mass. But it's really not the bomb collision mass that's causing the problem. It's the collision mass for the explosion itself. If you go in there and look at the sprite, and you look at the collision mask, it works when I don't set it to full image. Now, I told everyone, make sure all your sprites in this game are full image. Yeah, that's true. You do want to make all the sprites full image, but if you do that with the explosion, watch what happens. Here I'm going to go into the game, start it up, and what I'm going to try to do is hit the detonator. And what we want to watch for is look at the bomb and see if you see the explosion. If you don't see the explosion, then we know that we've recreated the problem. Now, one of the things in programming land, when you're programming, if you can't recreate the problem, then it's really difficult to fix. So watch the bomb, so watch right there, and then I hit the detonator, and we didn't see the explosion. So very unsatisfying, right? We want to see the explosion. And so what happens is it looks up in that top left corner, and because that top left corner is part of the collision mass, it sees that there's something there and destroys it. When it does when the explosion destroys everything around it, including the middle one, it destroys itself. So you can trick a game maker not to destroy the explosion if you just leave that top left corner not part of the collision mask. So now it's blank, or it's not part of the collision mask. Now when the explosion itself looks in that location to see if there's anything there, it's not there because it's not in the collision mask for the explosion. Then it won't destroy itself. So very sneaky way of using Game Maker so that you don't get to see the explosion. So we'll try it now. Now we watch the bomb again, and you should see that the explosion happens, and now that's a lot better. So just generally in this game, it's best to make everything full image except for that explosion. Make it automatic, and then the explosions don't end up destroying themselves. The way I used to do it in the past is I'd have to move the explosion out of the way, delete everything around where the explosion used to be, and then move the explosion back so that you could see it actually animate. With this little trick, we don't have to do that. So if you're having that problem, just make your explosion a little bit smaller by not using full image in the collision mask. Use automatic.